disclosure is being made, admission is automatic. There is no question of your admission being rejected. And Settlement Commission has the statutory power to cancel or waive the penalty and prosecution, whereas Commissioner has no power. He has got only a discretion. Here, fundamental power is given to the Settlement Commission to waive or reduce penalty. No doubt, the final arbitration of the amount to be fixed will be that of the Commission, but normally it may not be too much against you, because nothing has been found out by the department. You have gone voluntarily. So you can get a waiver, but waiver of interest is not possible. Waiver of penalty and prosecution is possible. Now I am told, not compelled, they have got the power to waive. Whereas Commissioner has got the discretion, which is different from power. Yes. Yes. Okay. Now he says that supposing the Settlement Commission does not exercise its power. Now the provisions in the chapter relating to settlement before the Commission is that if you have cooperated with the proceedings of the Settlement Commission, paid the taxes and interest, and do not oppose the quantification of the income fixed by the Settlement Commission, the Settlement Commission, on the basis of the language employed in the statute, condones or waives penalty. But if you do not accept the income fixed by the Settlement Commission, waiver may be at the discretion of the Settlement Commission.
Exorbitant.
Pardon?
So exorbitant amount claimed.
Doesn't matter. The amount is not important, your cooperation is more important. Because I will tell you the difference between an assessment before the assessing officer and a proceeding before the Settlement Commission. In the case of an assessment before the assessing officer, every proceeding should be legal. You need not appear before him unless a notice comes. And even if a notice comes, you can ask for adjournment or you can hide. The consequence will be the same, because the officer knows how to deal with you. But in the case of a Settlement Commission, no notice is given by them. It is up to you to cooperate. Find out the convenience of the Commission. See that your case is taken up. Give all data required voluntarily. No question of hearing, no official notice. I can give you one instance, because it happened some years back. One Commissioner of Income Tax, after retirement, because he had a law degree, wanted to practice, and he wanted to specialize in cases before Settlement Commission. So having filed the application and the case having been admitted, there was a letter, it was a notice, it was a letter from the Office of the Settlement Commission requiring certain data to be made available and requesting the applicant, he is called an applicant, to appear before him, and not the Commission but an officer under the Settlement Commission. So the Commissioner of Income Tax came to me and asked me, how dare the Settlement Commission officer write a letter to me? I am a retired commissioner. This fellow was a junior under me. How dare he write a letter to me? I won't go. And he asked me, what is the correct legal position? I told him, you are right. If he is your junior, you need not go. But the Settlement Commission is intended to assist you, and unless you cooperate, they will not assist you. So it is up to you to find out whether commissioner is to assist you or not assist you. After the commissioner left, the officer in the settlement commission got in touch with me saying the retired commissioner has written a very nasty letter saying how dare I call him. I myself do not know because he is a commissioner, I am in difficulty. Please tell me what I should do. I told him there is no necessity because already the commissioner has met me and I told him what he should do, and soon you will find him in your room. So you will find that settlement commission is a voluntary compliance. It is a place where just as you go to a Vinayagar temple to fall down, it's a Vinayagar temple, you go and fall down. You cannot say that the temple should call you. Why should the God call you? You should go to the God. So that's the difference. So when that is the scheme of the chapter, there is no worry. And to my mind, there has not been any case where penalty was levied, excepting one instance where he was a very senior chartered accountant. Of course, it happened a long number of years ago, where in disposing of the case, they said they will levy penalty. So the chartered accountant came to me. They have not been levying penalty now. In this case, they have told. I said, I don't know what has happened. Possibly you must have pricked him on the wrong side. Does not matter. If they would not have passed the order, go to Delhi, because Delhi is the headquarters, just fall at his feet, saying, if there is a mistake, maaf karo. He said, can I do it? I said, there is nothing bad about it. If you don't succeed, doesn't matter. But falling at another man in a room without anybody seeing is not bad. So he did it. And to his surprise, the chairman of the commission said, yes, you are a good boy, I will not levy penalty. So he came back and said, see, what is this mantra you have got? I said, there is no mantra. All human beings are susceptible to many things. And the officer is actually a human being. So he touched the particular, nerve which will enable you to get things done. So settlement commission, don't worry, it is a safe place, as it is.
Not taken on the weight.
Pardon?
So they may not take you on the weight.
No. See, settlement commission is an authority whose status is greater than that of a Supreme Court judge. So if you know that, you know everything. The status is very high because department cannot file any appeal, taxpayer cannot file any appeal. It is the end of the road. So they will also be very careful to see that you are not finished. As a matter of fact, in my experience, nobody has lost by going there. Everybody has gained. First, mental peace. Second, offensive language from the ITO. All these things you are avoiding. And going to the income tax office on a daily basis and answering his personal needs now and then. All those things are avoided. So anyway, the filing of voluntary return is not as simple as you are thinking. It is a very complex matter. Many people who have filed voluntary returns either as a result of survey or as a result of search have found it to their dismay that normal penalties which would be levied where the department has found out the concealment is the result. And no doubt you can file appeals. But again, appellate authority cannot travel beyond the statutory provision. It's very difficult. The only cases where voluntary returns and penalties levied have been cancelled are cases where, as I said, the income offered has no relationship to material found or other evidences with the income tax officer. Otherwise, penalties have been confirmed. Similar is the case of search and seizure. Now you will find in the chapter relating to search and seizure, there is a provision that a taxpayer can come forward voluntarily and offer additional income before the search commences. And based on that, if no further investigation is done by the department, the Act itself prescribes that penalty shall not be levied. But only thing is, you must take care to see that the offer of additional income is done at the earliest point of time. You cannot do it at the close of the investigation or after the investigation is completed, because it will not be considered as a voluntary offer of additional income. But all said and done, if you take any digest of tax cases and punch 271(1)(c) in your computer, well, you will get 200 to 300 cases, and you will find whatever I have said may not be correct. There are cases where courts have taken the view that penalty cannot be levied even after search, where he has come forward to declare income which is not related to material seized, but also with reference to material seized. Why they have come to that conclusion that no penalty can be levied and then there is no concealment? Well, you have to read through the case. If you read through the case, you will find, for example, a slip is found, so many figures. It is not descriptive. Some figures are there. It is seized. According to the department, it is your income. According to the assessee, it is a telephone number. So this is a dispute. Now, under such circumstances, the assessee says, okay, I will round it up and give you the tax. Court will say, though it is with reference to the seized material, it is not descriptive of the deceased material. So that is why reading a case law, you will have to read the case law fully. Then you will understand why the court has taken a view which I have now told is such and such. So sometimes when you go through, you may find what Jagdish has told this, the court is telling something different. Yes, it is because the facts are different.
Even any documents which is not at all related to you, but related to some paper, that case also.
Yes, see, in a search, all types of dirty paper is available. And most of the business community, the noting is known only to him. It's very difficult. And even the noting he might have forgotten. So it is very difficult to come to any conclusion. For example, because this also happened a long time back, there are about 365 loose sheets per year, minimum 365. And there is scribbling into some figure in the front, into some figure later, total, every day. Now the department treated it as unaccounted sales. So when the case came to me, I asked the taxpayer what it is. He said, I don't know, my clerk wrote it, because I know that he is not telling what is the correct one. So I said, okay, but you must continue to tell the same thing even later. Don't make me in a difficult situation. So when the case came up, of course this went to the settlement commission. When the case came up, I told the court, the department is taking it as purchases. It may be, I'm sorry, as sales. It may be even purchases. Now the department has verified my books that these slips are not found, but if it's a purchase, it may be found. So immediately the members asked the assessee what it is. He said, I don't know. He kept up the word. So it was a great dilemma for anyone to know what it is. So such things do happen. So it is your ability to describe or misdescribe a seized document. A seized document doesn't say everything. Huh? Yes, yes. Ramajayam also may spell out for each Rama so many rupees, we don't know. Because Ramas are also valuable. So it's very difficult. All this coded, and then today you have got the computer where everything is in a secret code. There is a dual system. There are so many systems inside the computer. There are specialists to do only against income tax. There is a software related to jewelry business. There is a software related to manufacturing business. There is software to everything by which you can disclose what you want. You need not disclose what you don't want. And you can make it disappear in a minute. So many things are possible, but still, if you are found out, we have to try to wriggle it out. Anyway, the courts have made a distinction in matters of voluntary disclosure of income or voluntary revised filing of return based on the material found, whether it is referable to the offer of additional income, that no penalty is to be levied. Now, there are certain difficult situations which come up before the taxpayer and the tax advisor. You find in many of the real estate transactions, the sale deed is executed for a price which is dual, one which is recorded and one which is not recorded. And when it goes for registration, there is a third figure which is under 50 capital C. Now the taxpayer files the return to work out capital gain or business profit based on what he has actually received stated in the sale deed. Now the law requires the assessing officer to adopt the value in the sale deed or the value fixed by the sub-registrar, whichever is higher, or when objected to by the taxpayer, to refer it to a valuer of the department and to adopt the value fixed by the valuer. So you have got several values. Now what is the consequence of the difference between the income returned based on the sale deed and the income assessed as per these provisions under 50C? Is it a declaration of correct income or a declaration of incorrect income? Now what should the advisor tell him? In what manner he should file the return? Should he file only that which is given in the sale deed, or he should voluntarily raise it to the figure in 50C, or should he get a valuer report and based on that file the return? Normally no taxpayer is willing to offer the income above the figure mentioned in the sale deed. For two reasons. He has to pay tax. and you cannot pay tax on what is not possible to declare. So you will always adopt, but the consequence is it a concealment? Now this is a statutory income, what is called a deemed income. Now in the provisions of the Income Tax Act, there are many sections which provide for deemed income. For example, cash credit, investments not accounted, investments partly accounted, expenditure not recorded. So many provisions are there in the Income Tax Act which prescribe a deemed income. Now, if after filing the return and the department makes an assessment based on the deemed income, is it 50C or 69 or 68, 69A, whatever is the section, is there concealment? Should the tax advisor tell the taxpayer, oh, these sections are there, I find so many cash credits in your books, and I am not very happy about the correctness. You have constructed a big building. Well, according to me, the cost does not match with the area constructed. Do you advise him to increase the total income, or wait and see? Let us see what the officer is capable of doing. Now, in all these cases, again, if you go through the cases decided by courts of law, it's not very uniform. The courts have always taken a view that if the deemed income is such that there is an attempt by the taxpayer to conceal his income. If you see assessment orders about 60 years back, they used to justify the deemed income with reference to your possible ability to earn income. So they will estimate the correct gross profit, match it with the deemed income to show that the deemed income is really your income. But today the assessment orders are not of that, because statutorily the addition has been recognized. 50 years ago there was no statutory provision deeming these as income. But over a period of time, because of complex case law, statutory provisions have come in deeming certain items as income. So officers are not taking more than one step. Just find out whether that section applies, treat it as your income, and also try to see that it is a concealed income, though it is a deemed income. Now, what are your options? Should you file the return itself adding that amount, or should you wait and see? And what are the consequences? Of course, the case law is not very uniform. Courts have taken the view that if no inquiry is made by the assessing officer with reference to the deemed income, and the addition has been made purely based on the words used in the deeming provision, it is only a statutory income and not a concealed income, and therefore no penal consequences will flow. But where the assessing officer has not merely applied the deeming provision, but has gone further to verify the correctness of the data in the books of account or in the statements filed, takes further evidence to show that it is not purely a deemed income, but also backed by data or material, then certainly courts of law have taken the view that though it is a deemed income, since the department has been able to identify the deemed income with certain material gathered independently, which the taxpayer is unable to controvert, the levy of penalty or consequence of concealment is justified. So, statutory income or deemed income is also a cause of concealment depending upon the ability of the officer in completing the assessment. Supposing you object to the addition of deemed income, the officer will investigate. But if you meekly accept the addition of deemed income, you are safe. So you will have to see the pros and cons. What will be the position of the AO to make a further investigation? If you feel that the issue will be decided based on further material, it is better to offer the income even before the officer takes up further investigation with reference to deemed income. Then we come to certain items which are not really income, but which affect the computation of income. What are known as deductions or outgoing. For example, expenditure. Now, expenditure in the profit loss account is also an indicator of the amount of income concealed. So, the officer is able to find out that an expenditure has been claimed without proper proof or is not verifiable. Even an expenditure can be treated as income concealed, though per se it is not income, but it is related to determination of your income. Now, there was a view that even if such expenditure is treated as an income not disclosed, since it is an expenditure related to your business, yes, you add and then give me deduction. So it gets neutralized. And this was accepted by courts of law. Therefore, the government brought in an amendment saying that where such an expenditure is held out to be untrue, the assessee is prevented from claiming a set-off of that expenditure as a business expenditure or an expenditure incurred to earn that particular income. So now the option available to a taxpayer is sealed. He is not able to get a set-off in respect of expenditure which has been identified as not incurred. No, I just stop. I've got some more to tell. There is any particular area where, because I am not quoted any case law, because as I said, every case law is to be given the meaning only with reference to the name of the case. Though most of the cases have not established any principle of law. If you see, it says held on the facts. Therefore, it is very difficult to tell a particular case as having laid down a principle with reference to the subject which we are dealing with. Now, if there is any area where you think some attention is required on this subject, you can tell me, so that before I take up one or two, because Chairman says it is time, I can do that. But I have not quoted any case law because most of the cases are decided on facts.
Sir, if the assessing officer passes an assessment order even after giving necessary information, and he passes the order under his wish. Now the demand tax liability arises. He will initiate even the penalty. Can I go to the commissioner and say him the assessing officer is not aware of the section and he has passed the order?
Commissioner means which commissioner?
Commissioner of Income Tax.
Is he your brother-in-law?
Sir?
Is he your brother-in-law?
No, sir.
Then you can go. Otherwise, don't go.
No. But there is a
Statute
chance.
does not permit you to go to commissioner.
No, sir. For the waiver of the penalty, at least. So
As I told you, everybody has to exercise his power or discretion as laid down by the statute. So far as commissioner is concerned, he has the power only with respect to certain areas, but not with reference to determination of income. He has no power.
no, sir. With regards to the penalty.
Penalty.
Penalty. I'm not saying with regards to the income. With regards to the penalty and the interest, can we say the given a complaint that this particular officer, even after submission of necessary information, has passed an order without taking into consideration?
Yes.
So what will be the consequence, sir? I am.
No, I accept. See, whenever an officer has levied penalty, there are statutory provisions to question the levy of penalty. You have got a right of appeal. Who is the Commissioner of Income Tax Appeals. The Commissioner Administration has no power to sit in the armchair of the assessing officer and redecide the issue. He has no power. No doubt he has a power to waive or reduce, but only under certain circumstances. That is where the offer of income is voluntary and before it being deducted. And even there, it is only a reduction or full waiver depending upon various facts.
We are the mercy of the assessing officer because when we file in CIT appeals cases, it will take nearly 9 months.
Why not 9 years?
May, sir. In my experience, I'm getting
9 months is too early, man. Today it is not happening.
Sir, I'm getting it. I don't know why.
You may get, but it depends because there is no time limit for disposing appeals.
No, at least first round of hearing happens within 9 months.
Maybe you are very fortunate, but it is not happening. CIT appeals need not or are not bound by disposing of appeals within a period of 1 year or 9 months or 4 months. No, there is no.
There is no accountability on the part of
Yes, accountability is there, but who is to question? Yes, they are supposed to come at 9:30. But when are they coming at 9:30? Your case is posted at 10:30. You are not called at 10:30. Who is to do it? Which is the forum?
how much the cases they keep on adding.
No. See, there are so many statutory provisions, but unfortunately, since there is a human element involved, the statute is not working properly. It's not working properly, but a taxpayer, his remedies are very, very little, options are very few. He cannot go and threaten the CIT appeal, pass the order. Temporary. The final order is against the person who has filed the writ. Very few cases where the courts come to the rescue of the citizen. It's not there. Fundamental right has been reduced to almost nothing. No, writ cannot be issued asking the CIT appeal to do work or to dispose of cases in so many months. Not possible.
Is there something like voluntary disclosure before the assessing officer at the time of
Together.
about voluntary disclosure before the assessing officer during the course of assessment?
Yes.
Um,
See, this is officer is scrutinizing. There are two types where this is happening. The assessing officer is a very shrewd and intelligent person. He doesn't want to work for the pay he is getting. So the best way is to threaten you, saying, I have got lot of material. Unless you come forward and offer 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs, you will be in trouble. But he will not tell you what is the material. So if you succumb and file the voluntary return, there is no material at all, but you are taking a position that there may be, therefore you file a voluntary return. That is one case. The other case is the officer shows some papers. Say I made an inquiry and I find your account and that fellow's account is not matching. What do you say? You file a voluntary return or voluntary admission of income, because time limit is over. So if there is a voluntary admission of income. Now all these cases will be decided, because an assessing officer, as you are aware, has no authority to waive penalty. This we must know. He has no authority to waive penalty. If the income returned and income assessed is such, I think the percentage is about 20%, is it not? The deemed penalty explanation. So if it comes under the deeming provision, it's a deemed concealment. So when the deemed concealment comes, well, he has no choice. He has to issue the penalty notice. Many things happen beyond the statute. So the assessing officer will say, you please approach the joint commissioner, or you please approach the commissioner, try to make a representation, and if the commissioner or the joint commissioner gives me instruction not to initiate penalty action, I will do it. Maybe there are one or two cases where the taxpayer through his tax advisor has succeeded, but at what cost, don't ask me. Officer to initiate penalty proceedings where he has omitted to do so, even where the income added is large. Yes. If you are filing a return and again enhancing it, whether based on material or not material, there is a concealment. It's a factual concealment. It is a pure arithmetic. Now, if there is a arithmetical concealment, causes, natural consequences should come. How can the ITO says, I will not levy penalty? He has no discretion.
ITO can do one thing, that he can drop the penalty. He can't waive the penalty. He only initiates the
Yes. He can drop the penalty only if you are able to establish that the voluntary return or voluntary offer of income is not based on any material in the possession of the department. Yes. I am not objecting to that. That is possible. But we are only discussing cases where you are confronted to file an offer of additional income based on some material, may be visible, may not be visible. In such cases, I don't think he has the power. And if after inspection by higher authorities they find that there is a friendly arrangement, well, there may be something which may be against you. But anyway, there is always a risk in filing a voluntary return. That is why I started by saying that concealment should be averted given at the beginning of preparing your accounts and filing your returns. So when you are preparing your returns, when you are filing your returns, what are the things which are going to give you problem? Please think about it. But unfortunately we don't have time, because on 25th December that fellow comes, or last date he comes, and you have got only few hours to file the return. So these things are happening because we don't have time. The taxpayer does not know the difficulties in filing the return. Even e-filing takes a lot of time. So a lot of mistakes are happening. But notwithstanding that, you can rectify your return, whether it is e-filing or a physical return. You have got time, almost 1 year time before the officer is going to take up the case for scrutiny. You can file a revised return. So there are two ways. Before filing the return, work hard. If there is no time, after filing the return, work hard. Both are good for the assessee. After filing the return, we forget everything. We are thinking of the next item. No. Wherever returns are filed in a hurry, it is proper for us to spend more time on any possible mistakes which have crept in. Even preparing balance sheet, there may be mistakes. What is in the P&L account may be in the balance sheet, what is in the balance sheet may be in the P&L account. Because even your computerized accounts, it only gives back what you have given. So it doesn't itself think and do anything. So it's better that we scrutinize our own return once again, instead before the officer looks at it. But today you are 97% safe because only 3% returns are scrutinized. I'll give one very interesting anecdote. A person who started his career as a broker slowly enlarged his business, and instead of acting as a broker, he began doing the business himself in real estate, and God was very kind to him. He made lot of money, and he took care to see that everything is cash. But after some years, it was difficult for him to confine himself to cash, because if there is a large property, necessarily he has to have a check. It's difficult to convert everything. So he opened a bank account, went on depositing. Then after possibly, 15 years, let us say, he found that the volume in the bank was large. Possibly he must have talked to some friends or somebody, and those people might have said, sir, if you are not filing any return, you will be in danger. So he got worried and he went to an auditor. The auditor, very sincere man, he calculated the deposits and plus what is deposited, some more towards a buffer, and worked out for 6 years, because 6 years is the period for which he is liable, and gave him the figure. So this man felt, what is this? Almost what I earned is going away. I can't pay this. So you consult a very senior man. So that auditor and the taxpayer came to me, and this fellow said, sir, what is this? The auditor has. So I just had a glance. I said, your auditor has done an excellent work, and so much tax is payable. He said, I have not been sleeping for a long time. Now how to get over this? I said, the answer is very simple. You get into difficulties only if you file the return. For last 15 years, nobody questioned you. So, try to sleep well, don't file return until you are caught. And the consequence will be the same. So, it all depends upon how many years you can sleep at the expense of the department. So, if you are able to sleep for another 10 years, well, that is your saving. So, today what is happening is, blessed are those who don't file returns. Cursed are those who file the returns. All the problem starts only after filing the return. If you don't file the return, you are safe. But it is very difficult to give that advice and take that advice, because all people are not prepared to feel happy in not filing the return. There are people who don't want to file returns. They are a large number. You will be surprised to know that if you take those persons who have not filed the return, it will be as large as the tax being collected today, but not subject to tax. Because it's very difficult for any agency to find out whether all persons are filing returns or not. It's very difficult. There are many persons. I have come across in my career, so many persons come to me, sir, I have not filed return. What to do? Whatever properties has acquired, unless they have increased in market value, he is in difficulties. So if you file the returns regularly, you feel safe. You feel as if you are not losing anything. But if you are not filing returns for several years and you want to file returns for 6 years, the burden is such that no sensible man will file return. And even if you go to Anna Hazare, he will say, yes, don't file return.
This is where common sense plays a vital role in tackling the situations, and we are not going to leave him. He is going to be here tomorrow also. Tomorrow you will be handling a session on deemed perquisites under the 8 salaries. Thank you for the patient hearing, and on behalf of the 65 people who have been present and now 56 people who are present in the auditorium, the year in which he started his practice, I present a memento to the speaker of this.
See, tomorrow's topic, I have not taken the topic as perquisite. I have specifically narrowed down as a deemed perquisite. Now, deemed perquisite has come because of certain recent innovative methods adopted by the department in trying to recover tax on perquisites which are not there, on the basis of survey and other operations. Very recent, but large companies are affected by such deeming sections. And it has a historical background. I thought I could narrow down the topic so that we can discuss in greater length. I am not discussing perquisites, but only deemed perquisites. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Once again, we continue to meet tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. sharp.